Danger! Hot tanks! Do not touch. What happens if I touch a hot tank, hey? Do I impregnate it? Who knows? Today, we're going to be restoring the IS-2, so come join me as we have a bunch of fun. G'day, welcome yourselves back to Tank Mechanic Simulator. In today's episode, we're going to be restoring the Soviet behemoth, the IS-2. Don't know much about this vehicle aside from that it was developed from a KV-1 chassis, extended, and then has a very interesting production cycle. The version that is in game, I believe, is an IS-2 1944. I'm not entirely sure on any other specifics, but this is what we got from the scrapyard. As you can see, there's not a lot of the vehicle left. We don't even have the gun mantle. Half the interior is missing. We don't have any of the road wheels or any of the tracks. It doesn't look like we have an engine at all, so that's going to be something a bit of fun, and as you can see, it's just filled with rust, so she'll be right? It'll buff out, right? Now, what I do know about the IS-2 is that its precursors was the IS-1, which was a heavy tank which didn't really see that much of active service. There was the IS-100, and then the KV-13 prototype, which was a KV-1 chassis with a very strange upper glacis, and a weird hybrid KV-1 turret with a very curved cheek armor. What then spurred out of that was a lengthened chassis that was also used by the KV-2, but then became the KV-13, which featured a short barrel, or, well, 122mm modification with a muzzle brake. In 1944, we got a version which actually had a 122mm gun. They went for a longer barreled gun this time, rather than a shorter barrel, and put a muzzle brake on it like the German-style tanks. As far as I can tell, they made 1,150 of them in the early 1944 model, and even has a Cupolas machine gun on the top and various other improvements. IS-2 saw service in basically most Eastern Bloc nations throughout the Soviet Union, Mongolia, China, and I think the last operational use of it was actually somewhere in the Middle East. I'm not entirely sure. Alright, we're just basically cleaning everything up that we possibly can with the deruster. Honestly, this rust removal tool is horrible. I have used a couple of them in the past. They're not exactly that useful. They're great, but for industrial uses like this, you have other tools available to you. That's why you're hand restoring a vehicle, but still. Okay, let's give it an old degreaser. Bit of a paint gun here. This is the sand blaster with extra steps. Now, an industrial sandblaster will fire thousands of tiny beads at a target that you set inside an isolated chamber. Depending on the fine grit or the size of those particular little tiny itty-bitty bits of sand that are flying through compressed air, and that itself just removes the paint and any damage, allows it to go back to bare metal, and allows you to then repair and inspect every kind of diminishing factor with an item. I haven't used a sandblaster in a while. You can get them in various forms, but we have a bit of a problem with the hole here. Much better, alright. Is there any other holes on this suspension system? Doesn't look like there are any other holes, but for now, we've got a multitude of things to do, including derusting all the elements. I'd love to find a machine gun for that particular module, but it is what it is. Okay, take out the periscope. Let's go back down here. Take out the loader seat. And the gunner seat. Those are parts we're going to have to replace. The wires are going to have to be completely new. Take out the gunner's periscope, and I believe all of these periscopes in here. That. Wires A. Is there anything else rusty that's in here? I don't think so. Cool. We've got one restored turret. Now, let's get on with the engine. The condition's about 15%. Come back to that one later, or should we disassemble it? I reckon we'll just disassemble it for now. Because we're never going to get to it later. May as well get all the components done And I like doing things in a stringent order. I always go turret, engine, hull, interior, and then I go for a test drive. That's just how I do things, okay? I like to be methodical. Alright, there we go. Crankshaft's out. The whole entire engine looks particularly interesting now. Cool. Now for the internals of the actual tank itself, which is going to be a fun debacle. Okay. First off, let's de-rust everything we can. I don't want to have to pull out things that I'm not going to repair later. So let's just give everything a good old clean out. Any other core components in here that might be of use. Looks like we're not going to get any other items. Okay. Let's give it an old paint. All the gear levers. Ammunition holsters. The ready racks down there. Pull everything apart. Okay. Hit the primer gun. Let's get the interior done. What else do you want? Okay, now it's time to disassemble everything that we can't get rid of. Fuel distributor. Check out the fuel hoses. The driver's seat, everything that's rusty in here. All the wires. Driver's side, interior lamps. More of the wires, like so. Check out the periscope as well. And the control panel, because that looks like it's not finished. Everything else in here should be good to go. So, now that we've got that, now we can just restore the remainder of the parts we have. And then we'll go and buy the rest of them. So, let's go and paint off the rest of the vehicle as we can. Okay, I think we've finally done the outside of the hull. We just double check that everything's nice and clean. Everything is done now. So, at least the tank is in a better condition than what it once was. While we're waiting for that one, during the famous battles near Targus Frumos, a single IS-2 is damaged and later examined by General Guderian himself, who concluded that Stalin was worth of its name. Do not get involved with a fight with Stalin without overwhelming numerical superiority in the field. He said that he believed for every Stalin we must account for an entire platoon of Tigers. And any attempt by a single Tiger to fight a Stalin one-on-one can only result in the process of a lost, priceless war machine. And he then devised new rules to devise a flank around the IS-2 and get shots into the vulnerable sides and rear. Even one of them in a well-defended position claimed 4 Königstigers and 7 damaged and 3 damaged Panthers and even a Jagdtiger. As it appeared, 11 IS-2s from the 71st Independent Heavy Tank Regiment had successfully repelled an assault from a total of 14 Panzer IV King Tigers from the 501st Heavy Panzer Regiment. And the battle only raged from about 650 yards, about 600 meters, and ended with 3 destroyed IS-2s and 7 damaged. Interesting. What I know about this engine is it's a 600 horsepower engine. That's all I can tell you about this thing. A huge oil pan. Install the oil filter. And the water pumps. Like so. Put all the piston rods in. It wants us to do all the things. Engine isn't actually as complicated as I once thought it would be. A Russian V12 pairing this absolute monster with 600 horsepower. Not bad. There we are. There's the kicker. All the independent valves you're going to have to put in on this machine. Look at that. Water cooling. Okay, and now we've got to put in each individual valve. Well, this is going to be fun. Alright, that is the engine complete. Goodness me. Now we've completed the turret, and I guess it's time to complete all the internals of the vehicle before we go ahead and start the outside. So, go ahead and do that. Alright, after we've installed most of the parts, the only leftover confusing part for me is this gearbox. I've missed one of the gears, and I'm just trying to figure out which one it is. I think it's the D or the F. We'll go into the tank analysis system by the analysis part. Yeah, it's a gear D. Okay. Go to the assembly menu. Actually, hold on. Like that. Go to the gearbox, scroll down. Yeah, see, in order to install that one, I must take out the other one, which means I must take out the whole entire gearbox again. And if I'm being honest, this tank is probably just going to be sold, and we're just going to make a bunch of profit off it. And with that, I really can't be bothered. So let's move the turret on to the back of the vehicle, and then move the engine back inside. Everything works except for the gearbox, which, again, might be a standard Russian equipment thing, right? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Alright, move it to the museum and let's get the achievement. Gotta find a slot for it first. There we go, the achievement has been acquired. To the museum. Well, that's about it for our IS-2. Tank value is about 270 something thousand. That's actually slightly higher than the King Tiger's price. So if you want to restore these over and over and over, most tedious thing is definitely the engine deck, the amount of screws that are in the back of it. Obviously I didn't paint this one up as I'm going to go sell it, and that's exactly what I'm going to go do now. Because, you know, it's a tank that can be sold. And with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me on this Tank Mechanic Simulator Journey of the First Supply. We have restored every single vehicle that is available to us. That is all of the new tanks, and we've put a King Tiger in amongst our collection, which is fantastic. Very much a German collection in this museum here. If I was to sell everything, I'd probably make a few squillion. Moving on. I'd love to see some more updates from this game in future, some quality of life stuff, and all sorts of things. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. That was the IS-2. My name is Ash, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.